Welcome to 3:15 a.m. in my dorm, where tonight we're going to be talking about Coraline, or I guess I should say, this morning, because I have no self-control and my classes are not that hard. Media made for children is so fucking weird. Can we just take a second and acknowledge that? On one hand, you've got some of the most absolutely cosmic, horror, Lovecraftian creatures I've ever seen in my life. On the other hand, you've got this kid-friendly paint slapped over the whole thing. But I'm gonna be honest with you, that media is like always pretty boring. Oh, you're gonna come at me in the comments and tell me that you remember Dinosaur Train? That you're sitting in your basement watching Dora the Explorer on the weekends? No, you're not, because you're not an insane person. Now, of course, you can revisit a couple of shows that you watched when you were younger. I'm no better. I watched Ben 10, Spectacular Spider-Man. That's my shit, dog. But you watch them not inherently because the show itself has the merit to warrant it, but because you have a lot of nostalgia for those shows from when you were younger. Now, as with anything, of course, there are exceptions. There are shows that break out of this childish aura and tackle more serious themes, show real conflict, or get slightly crass. I mean, Avatar: The Last Airbender, most anime, classic Disney films, Bluey. I guess I've never really watched Bluey. I don't know if Bluey does this. Bluey IMDb. What the fuck? But these are all examples of media that do a brilliant job of appealing to their target demographic, which, you know, are children, but then also have more than enough merit for adults to come back to or to discover and love. But you want to know the kind of media that really stuck with me when I was a kid? It wasn't the good media. It was the media that scared me crapless, because I was a total wimp growing up. In fact, I have a confession to make. I've told nobody this before, and I trust you not to tell anybody else. I was so scared of the dark that I was unwilling to go to the bathroom and open my door. So I peed in my dirty laundry. But who could blame me? Zombies are going through the biggest renaissance they've ever had, and so tons of that media was out there, and it's just ambiently horrifying. Then you had Watership Down, which...
It's a strange sound. Hissing. The air turned bad. Runs blocked.
Yeah, still traumatizes me. And then, of course, you had Five Nights at Freddy's going through its renaissance. Lord knows I couldn't play those games. I was too scared, but I would watch Markiplier. And now, you can watch me play through those games live on twitch.tv/firstaid99. You should definitely give me a follow there, definitely subscribe here. But moving along from that, those media didn't really stick in my head, at least not the same way as one piece of media. There was one piece of media I consumed that gave me nightmares until I was a late teenager. That stuck in my head for so long, because even though it was so scary, I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was just so enthralling. And that piece of media was none other than Coraline. Now, I've seen people categorize Coraline as a horror movie, but at the end of the day, it really isn't. The Westbird Library defines horror as a genre of literature, film, and television that is meant to scare, startle, shock, and even repulse. And obviously, horror media made for children doesn't work. Try convincing a parent to go take little Timmy to the theater to go see a film that's just gonna make him shit himself. That's not a thing. Coraline is for kids. It's literally defined as family horror, according to like IMDb. Coraline as a horror movie is something that we'll look at, because it is scary. But more pressingly, I think there's a better definition for it. Coraline isn't horror, it's spooky. In fact, I would argue it is the poster child for spooky media. Step aside, Scooby-Doo. Coraline's in town now. But what does spooky even really mean? It's maybe the most important thing for us to draw a line between spooky and scary. So let's start with scary, because I think that's easier to explain. Things that are labeled as scary media are just media that kind of execute a horrible premise, whether it's a man who's hunted by ghosts, or a man is in your dreams and he can kill you, or a death game. That's all scary, but the issue with that is that it's kind of lame, is that they kind of don't make any sense. There's no gripping intrigue. I mean, on a surface level, we're kind of intrigued because there's an immediate threat presented to us, but we only find out Jason's backstory because Jason's trying to kill us. And we find out that Jigsaw's moral compass is a goddamn roulette wheel, because at the end of the day, scary is just something that's trying to scare you. I know, big shocker there, right? And there are obviously different kinds of things that scare you. There are different breeds, like terror, there's horror, there's scary, there's unsettling, but we're going to categorize all of that under the umbrella term scary for the purposes of this video. My point with this is that being scary is a tool. It's a tool that should be used in purpose of something else. But the objective of scary media isn't to do that. It's just to scare you. A lightning round of quick examples would be A Quiet Place, Jigsaw, Happy Death Day. And I mean, those are all totally fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but they're just potato chips. I mean, they're thin, they might be tasty, and you can slam them back, but at the end of the day, there's nothing to sink your teeth into. And that's exactly where spooky and scary are differentiated. Spooky uses scary, to tremendous effect, to achieve something else. Spooky media isn't about directly trying to scare the consumer, it has some other primary objective, whether that be fleshing out characters, or, as is often the case, making a very, very interesting, albeit somewhat unsettling, world. Specifically, it's a world you don't understand, and that makes something spooky. Over the Garden Wall, Scooby-Doo, Five Nights at Freddy's at first, they all do this exceptionally well. Their world hinges on us wanting to learn more about it, and it's mysterious. There are answers, but everything isn't answered, and the world is still mysterious when we leave it, but now we want to know more because we've figured some stuff out. And because we figured some stuff out, we figure that we must be able to find everything out. And so in the interest of doing that, we're gonna dive back into danger. We put up with ghosts and ghouls to find out why they exist. Spooky is not devoid of scary, the two are intertwined, but they are squares and rectangles. All spooky is scary, but not all scary is spooky. The telltale sign between them is what that media is trying to get you to feel. Some examples would be romance movies wanting you to say aw, comedy movies want you to laugh, scary wants you to jump or scream, spooky wants to keep you on the edge of your seat. It's a use of scary to make the audience unsettled, absolutely, but unable to turn away. And it is in this regard that Coraline fucking kills. Coraline isn't just a spooky movie because it has an interesting world, although it really, really does. It's a great spooky movie because it is actually terrifying. It is such a good, scary movie. And it's so good at being scary for three conceptual reasons that make it, on a nearly subconscious level, so much scarier to watch, especially when you're a kid, than like any other media. And it does such a great job on executing every single one of these. So the first thing Coraline does to scare the absolute piss out of kids, and even a lot of adults on a subconscious level, is it inverts the classic escapism trope. I thought I had such a special little imagination when I was a kid, and one of my biggest daydreams was absolutely going through a portal or some sort of traversal hole into another dimension where magic was real and things were fantastical. And I mean, Narnia didn't help with that, isekais certainly didn't help with that, and there are lots of forms of media that have that idea ingrained into them. Media for children often has the child turn really special or important in the other world, contrasting with the fact that, you know, in real life, they're a child. Coraline takes this idea and it corrupts it. It absolutely flips it on its head to screw with the mind of the person watching it in just the most delightful way. Because Coraline escapes into this world. Her parents in this world are fawning over her while they're kind of absentee parents in her real life. But it's weird. It's not quite right. And it's not quite right because the entire world is a trap. It is meant to draw her in. Everything has been tailored to what she likes, to an almost uncanny degree. It almost fits into this idea of the uncanny valley, where it's so peculiar that everything is exactly like what she wants, that everything is so desperate to keep her entranced, and that's what sells it. This sense of desperation from the other mother, from the world, to keep her in it for as long as possible. Why does it need to be that desperate? What on earth does it have planned for her? And that's what's so creepy about it. Because the second thing that is inverted is this idea of a child's role. In real life, who does a child look to for protection and knowing what's right and wrong? Of course, it's your parents. But in the other world, it's the other mother who is constantly scheming to try and eventually do maybe the worst thing possible. Eat Coraline. That's just a bad move. You don't want to go around eating kids. Not that I've tried it, but I've heard that it's not a good move. I don't recommend it. The point is that the other mother is the main source of evil. She is the main hostility attacking Coraline, and she poses as Coraline's mother. Traditionally, I hate to break it to you guys, the mom is the most protective member in a family of the children. And so having this be inverted yet again, that's two inversions in one. Coraline just kills it on a subconscious level really, really eerie. If something came to me with the guise of my mom to try and eat me when I was a child, I would probably have been eaten. That's just how it's gonna be. Now I'll admit, in comparison to my first point, which was kind of rich with this literary analysis and this analysis of psychology, at least a little bit if you delve more into it. I didn't want to delve too deep in everything. This second point is a little bit self-explanatory, but I think it still bears repeating. The other mother only eats children. Dude, and what's even worse is that during the movie, we see her take the parents out of the picture. Coraline has to deal with her on her own. And as a child, that makes this movie so much scarier. Because you know that the other mother is not coming for mom and dad. The other mother's coming for you. The other mother's coming for me. And the other mother's gonna take my parents out of the picture so that it's just mano-y-mano. But I guess I'll admit, having children as your main character can definitely be kind of hard to sell to an audience. There's this underlying question, why aren't the adults stepping in? Coraline does get around that. Like I said, the beldam does steal her parents away at some point, but it also works around that by having the other world not too threatening until it's too late. Coraline gets drawn deeper and deeper into this world, and by the time the beldam reveals her true intentions as being evil, that's the only time that we find out that this is a real world. Because up until that point, every time Coraline has gotten out of the other world, she's woken up as if it's been a dream. And then this last time when she escapes, she knows that the beldam is trying to eat her. Well, her mother's groceries have rotted away, making it clear that time has passed, that this world is actually real. And now that she knows it's real, and now that her parents are out of the picture, the stakes go through the roof, and it happened very naturally. The thing that's really scary about this is that as a child watching it, you're gonna be in the same situation if you're put in a similar circumstance. There's no way I'm gonna go to an alternate dimension that feeds me great food. Food is the way to my heart, after all. That's gonna feed me great food, lavish attention on me, come back and be like, yeah, that sucked. Don't wanna go back there. No, I'm not insane. I'm gonna think that's so cool. I always take candy from strangers. Don't do that. Don't take candy from strangers. So watching it, I'm gonna be in the same situation as Coraline. I'm just gonna be a kid. I'm gonna be weak. I'm gonna be vulnerable. And I don't care if you're a kid watching this now.
I guarantee you're weak and vulnerable. I will beat you up consensually if you agree to it, and specifically if your parents agree to it. I don't really want to beat you up though, so don't ask your parents about that.
If you're a child, you're watching this movie, unlike with a lot of other media, you don't get the luxury of convincing yourselves, oh, well, in 5 years I could probably handle this. Oh, in 10 years maybe I could handle the plot of this movie. No, you gotta fight the demon on Sunday. You go get in the ring. Now, the third thing that this movie does, that a lot of people don't think about too much, and this is a real big one, so I want you to listen very closely. It doesn't get rid of the door. The door is still there. Sure, they locked the door and they threw the key down a well, but the door is still there. Oh, and that, my friends, means that the other mother is still there, that the other world is still there, scheming and plotting its way to its next victim, which is gonna be me at age 22. I'm still gonna get got. I'm still gonna get got. That food looked really good. I really want to try that, like, slushy shake chandelier thing. I really want that. That one final shot of the movie, where it's the cat disappearing behind the sign of the Pink Palace, is not merely artistic. It is also a very important reminder to the audience that, hey, that world is still there. More importantly, it is still connected to our world. Just in case you forgot, just in case you thought all the loose ends are resolved, they're not. The cat can access that other world. Who knows? Maybe some other creature can access it. Maybe the other mother will learn how to access our world through a different method. Now, I'll be honest, it's very emblematic of horror movies to do this. It's emblematic of the final scene being Mike Myers or Jason revealing that they're still alive. But when Coraline does this, it doesn't make it a horror movie. And that's not just me nitpicking. That's not just because I like Coraline. It's because it's using this horror element to be spooky. Yeah, this connection still exists, but that's not horrifying, that's spooky. Why is that? Well, that is because of... You'll have to forgive me if I look a little bit off. I went and I worked out in the middle of this because that's the kind of professionalism you can expect from this YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe for more. Okay, now this is what makes Coraline the perfect spooky movie, and this is what makes Coraline something that I revisit every single October. I've talked a lot thus far about utilizing scary in the interest of doing something else. I have done very little in terms of explaining how to do that. Let's use Coraline as an example because it is just an absolute delight to go through this movie and look at how it uses this unnerving atmosphere to draw you in and explore its fantastical world. So Coraline just moved to a new setting, the Pink Palace, but the location itself is anything but new. The very first scene of the movie, outside of the incredibly creepy tone-setting doll-making montage, is Coraline exploring the world outside. We innately want to learn more about the world, and subconsciously our expectation is raised that there are things to be found when exploring this world. Her childlike sense of whimsy and wonder draws us in and raises our expectations about the world around us. And lo and behold, there are things to be found, as Coraline finds an old well. Wybie, a character most people don't even realize wasn't in the novel, comes across her and delivers some slight exposition, informing us that his grandma usually doesn't let people with kids stay at the Pink Palace. And then, in an incredibly odd coincidence, Coraline gets a doll that looks just like her. One of the more underrated scenes in the movie is Coraline just exploring the Pink Palace after her dad tells her to. The house is hundreds of years old. And through this little montage, we're put in Coraline's shoes. We start getting interested in the place. All the weird little paintings, the weird windows, doors that don't go anywhere, all of which seem to beg for questions to be asked about them. Hundreds of years implies dozens of people, so we know in the back of our mind that this is a very storied house. When Coraline goes to bed, that intrigue crescendos into our first experience with the other world. All of our expectations have been building to this. Wybie's statement earlier, the weird doll, the eerie feeling of the house, but it's all subverted. Every part of our body tells us this place is dangerous, that the world here is unnatural and isn't right. But it greets us so warmly, feeds us delicious food. Sad paintings are now fun, and the parents are different. The buttons seem to be the payoff for our sense of unease, right? They're creepy, strange eyes that they touch haphazardly, yet they lather attention on Coraline without overdoing it. They crack jokes, they support her in everything she wants to do, they sing songs for her. And when she finally goes to bed in this world, they put mud on an itchy rash to make her feel better, and then she peacefully wakes up back in the real world. Her rash is gone, but we're left to wonder, is that because of the other world? Or because while she slept, she just got better? And then we come across the neighbors. And this is where things get amazing. The upstairs neighbor, some weird blue Russian man who trains mice, and offers yet another warning to Coraline, specifically this time to the door. Downstairs are two has-beens, actresses that keep a wall of taxidermy dogs. And honestly, no notes. These two neighbors both work so well in this setting, in this story. They're unnerving in their own ways, but more presently, they have history. They clearly have these weird and interesting stories that we don't know, but we want to be told. And that's emblematic of what makes Coraline the best movie ever. And Coraline is a world filled with these strange and weird, at times scary or even disconcerting stories. But they're stories that have such intrigue behind them that we willingly throw ourselves in this world, even if it is scary and even if it is dangerous, to find out more. And that is what makes it spooky. We are choosing to put ourselves in danger. Instead of being thrust into a situation and being told we should fear for our lives, we want to be in this situation. We want to learn more.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Now, I'm sure this is a big surprise here, but I think Coraline is a masterpiece. I think October is defined as the spooky month, and I think Coraline is the spooky movie. I find something new to love about it every time I rewatch it, and every time I reread it for that matter. This video was a lot of fun. It gave me an excuse to nerd out about Coraline for a good bit, which, trust me, I could have done this for a lot longer. If you guys actually want a part 2 in any way, shape, or form, I would be so excited to do that, because I have only talked about probably 10% of the things I love about this movie. And October is my favorite month, so expect at least one new video every week, kind of getting into the October vibes. I've got one planned specifically for Halloween. I know that that's still quite a bit away. But like I said, I'm streaming through FNAF on Twitch, so if you guys want a video on FNAF, I can't ask too much for my first YouTube video, but maybe 10 likes. If I get 10 likes on this, I'll do a FNAF video, and feel free to hop on over to Twitch, maybe follow me on X as well, for a little bit more regular content. I stream 5 days a week on Twitch, and I'll be trying to upload, like I said, at least once a week. So feel free to comment. I'm definitely going to read every comment, and feel free to subscribe. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this topic, whether you guys love Coraline, whether you guys think I'm full of crap here. But yeah, until next time, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to go rewatch Coraline.